we're
just
kind of.
Yeah, listen, our gaffer.
Do I have the card? Can I say that?
I don't know, but we're recording.
God, everything is everything you're recording here. So, I mean, I know we got the cameras rolling and everything. Tell me all about yourself. Give a little introduction. You're Cole Bennett.
I'm Cole Bennett. I'm his assistant director here on Fault. We've known each other for 3 years now.
Yeah, 3 years.
Met his freshman year, my sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
And we've worked on a lot of projects together, especially this past year with Frameworks projects, his production studio and stuff like that. So yeah, we're in the fiction filmmaking minor together, and I got brought on to be his AD. Tell us about you.
Yeah, so I'm Max Watkins, director of Fault. Yeah, we met probably 3 years ago, because it would have been like the very start of the freshman year for me, where we met through Telecasters.
In Cast 112, I remember you sat behind me for
the same
a portion.
classes, yeah. And so, from there, I mean, you get like a group, you know, when you're in college and doing production stuff. It's like you meet people through your classes who, you know, you meet a lot of people who don't care at all, but you also meet like a handful of people who are like really good and who actually care and like you work well with. And so, you know, I find those people, like, because that's like the benefit of film school, is that you find those people.
You really find your group, yeah.
And those people are the ones you just make stuff with for the rest of your time in school.
And so we're that. We definitely fell into a group like that. And thankfully, with the rest of the people in this capstone class too, that's really become a group as well, of just everyone works together so well, and we all came together with a pretty uniform vision of making this movie happen. So
absolutely. And I mean,
our jobs are pretty easy.
You got a lot of vision when it comes to things too, because you're a director outside of like outside of your assistant directing
working on
roles,
it. Yeah,
you know, you're also like just straight up director. You know, because AD is like it's all. Because we've both done both. So it's like, it's all organization and stuff. You don't get to do all the fun creative things that a director gets to. But we've both done like...
I have fun shouting at people and making sure everything's in order. I think that's fun.
There is a creativity to that, for sure. There's definitely a creativity element to it.
But no, I know exactly what you mean. I think assistant directors who know about directing and directors who know about assistant, I think that those work well, knowing where the other person is always coming from.
Yeah, builds off each other for sure. I wanted to ask, just because I mean we've talked obviously, like we work close together, but I don't think I ever found out like what your first project was, like pre-college, because I know you're like big movie guy.
Yeah,
you have been.
My first project was when I like held a slate on a like 5-minute short film. I'd like to joke that I'm a Nepo baby, because the first set I was on was a friend of my step-grandfather's second cousin.
Okay.
Brought me on.
So just a buddy, really.
Pretty much, yeah. Brought me on because she was like, oh, you want to do movies? Well, here, hold a slate and clap this, and then we're going to knock over a vase, and every take you're going to, you know, put it back up, and then we're gonna go again. And so that was my job of just like standing around. March of my senior year of high school.
Okay, so that was pretty recent. It was like 4 years.
Well, COVID. That's the thing.
COVID.
So it was kind of like before COVID, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to be doing. COVID hit, and that was really when I caught the film bug, and I was like, I need to do this with my life. But we couldn't do anything with our lives. Yeah. And then we got out, and all of a sudden I could get on this weird little set, and then I got on a 48, and then from there I started going here at MSU.
So for you, it was like, because I've never heard this story before. So for you actually got in and you were like on an actual set right away.
Yeah, I think it was like a 6-person crew.
But still, that's pretty good, because at the very least you're like collaborating with other people. Like for me, when I started out, I was 8, you know, and I went to this little like summer camp where they taught me, because I was big into Legos, I still am. But they taught me how to make little stop motion animations where you take the guy, you take one picture, again, you take a picture. So it was like a literal learn how to make movies in the most like gritty, boring, like frame by frame way possible. Take a billion pictures individually.
You learned the patience early.
Yeah, exactly. But also it was like I was on my own, you know. So like I would go home when I was 8 and make like goofy little stop motion animations where I was the one doing all the voices and doing all the editing and like everything. And it took me a really long time to like get any good, because I wasn't working with other people.
Well, that's how that goes.
So but for you though,
started early, and I always had. Like, I didn't necessarily think to myself, I want to do film, but I always had an interest. I never actually made, but I was always interested in, like, the Lego stop motion stuff. Or, like, I made a lot of videos with my friends where I was the one holding the camera, and they were, you know, jumping over a fence and doing silly stunts like that. And I never realized, like, holding the camera was kind of where I wanted to be. It was just like where I always ended up, and I was having a good time. And I like, it was always there, so, like under the surface, and then it broke through, and now I'm doing this, hopefully turning this into a career. This is sort of the last step of our college time here, studying. Time,
yeah.
But,
I think and I think that like a lot of people feel that way too, because I mean, especially recently, I talk about this all the time, but like it's hard to get into things, like it's hard to do more professional work. Which I think is what's so great about this movie, that is like you've got a bunch of people who are unestablished, and this is how all filmmakers start for the most part. It's like you get a bunch of people who don't really know, like who don't really have like a career or anything. They get together, they make some cool stuff, and they learn the hard way how to do it, right? And I feel like that's more and more appealing to people now as like a way of getting started, because
for sure.
It's like
it is very difficult to break into the industry, quote unquote, the place where the people have been working for 20, 30, however many years is sort of occupied by only those people, and they want to keep hiring their friends or keep hiring the people who know what they're doing.
Also,
so it's hard
unemployment,
to get in.
Man, super
unemployment's
high.
pretty high, so it's hard to get in like entry level, bottom of the ladder to start climbing up. But with projects like these, we can all lift each other up because we're all on the same
boat,
sort of exactly.
We're all at the same little low rung on the totem pole.
If one of us hops onto a project, and if I were to get on something, I would know 20 people I can call who can do 20 different odd things because of this project. So it's like
absolutely, it's really cool that way. That's one of the benefits of film school, I think.
Yeah,
is like,
for sure.
Especially now,
you have your network.
You hear a lot of people doing the discourse of like film school is such a waste of money, it sucks, and I'm like, to a degree, right? That's true, because just getting a degree isn't going to help you, But one thing about starting as being a filmmaker is like you have to build out like your network kind of thing. Like you've got to meet people who want to make movies with you.
And this is a very organic way to do that.
And it's a very organic way to do it because you just meet people and then
I go back and forth because I'm not a very classes guy. I don't. Yeah. Classes and me don't get along very well. But like, as much as I'm like, do I regret going to college? I always kind of come back to not really, because if I didn't go to college, I would have never met you or the people who made this film or my larger circle of people.
Yeah, and now anytime you want to make a project, you just have like a million numbers on speed dial, which is like a thing everyone needs, and everyone needs a way to like start building that, right? And so you don't need film school, right? Like, of course, there's ways of doing it without getting like a degree. Like you get on a bunch of sets and you meet a bunch of people that way or whatever. Like you find your first set and you build out there. But like film school is just it's like basically a guaranteed way of doing it, where like when you're there, you're meeting people.
That is part of the function for sure.
Who are doing that stuff. So I think that's cool. We should talk about the movie. I feel like
probably we made a movie.
I mean, directors on directors. We're talking about the goofy film directing broadly, but I think we made a movie. So we made a short film, Fault. I mean, because you pitched for AD too, because I mean the way we got the roles was, I mean, we all gave a little presentation at the start, and we were like, this is what I want to do, we're all here to do this, but this is what I want to do. And I was the only one who pitched for director.
You were the only one who went for director. He went unopposed.
But I was the only one whose first choice was director, but you had your second choice as director.
Director was my backup.
And your first choice is AD, which was interesting for sure, I guess, because I was shocked that no one else went for it, because there's a lot of really talented people.
Anissa also as her backup. She was assistant director. So that's one of the things that like in film school or like studying film, a lot of the shoots that we do are like 5 or 6 people crews or whatever like that. So it's like you've got lights, audio, director, producer, camera, and then that's kind of it. There aren't those in between positions. We don't really fill those very often. And so assistant director is something that I've always kind of looked at and been like, I'm not actually sure what that person fully does. And I never really got to learn because that's not really something we cover in classes.
Until you got on
and so
bigger sets.
Over the summer, I got onto the set of a movie called How to Rob a Bank, where I was just an extra. But I got to watch, a real film set. And one of the things that really drew my eye was watching the first AD go around and run the set, and he was just this huge guy who just commanded the set with just like his presence. Like it was just really interesting to see.
Everyone knew who they were listening to.
Everyone who was listening, because like I knew who the director was. I was a fan of the director. I'm a film nerd, and so I was like, oh, I know who that guy is. But like he's not the one who's calling the shots right now. There's this other guy who's shouting at people. Who's he? What's up with him? And I ended up talking with one of what's called a second AD, which is a stupid name.
Only in the States, right?
Only in the States. Apparently, that's a thing for us.
It's just third AD.
It's just called third AD because that would make sense. But he was filling me in on kind of what it is like to do that kind of work because that's never something I'd learned about. And so that I did that in August, and in September I come into this class and I went, I think that's exactly what I want to go for, is the AD department area in general. Try my hand at that in a small controlled setting and see how it fits, and it really clicked for me. I really liked doing it.
You did a really good job too, because I remember because part of it is obviously it's just keeping everyone on track, and like you said, you're the guy who yells at people.
It's not. It's not actually. I don't take joy in yelling at people, but it is. There is a...
It's like you got to command a little bit of respect where it's like, hey, gang, like, I know we're all peers, but also on the set, we have to make sure that people are... There's got to be a little hierarchy so we can make sure everyone's doing what they need to do.
And I love watching a project come together, so knowing that someone has to be the person to hold it together, I am comfortable being that person to make sure that we are running things smoothly.
I think it's helpful, too, because... especially with like the amount of experience that you have and like the great attitude that you bring to a lot of other stuff, like when we're not on set, and the people, like the way you talk to people just outside of set, and the fact that we're all like classmates and other things too.
Right.
It sort of brings some like benefit of the doubt, where even though you're on set being like, hey guys, let's keep it moving, and sometimes a little more so than that even. Everyone kind of knows you're at least coming from like a good place. You're not just
fun. We all want to
not just a mean
get
guy.
it done. No, yeah. One of my friends sent me a video the other day that was just like the AD after rap when he turns into a normal person again. It's like, oh, you're cool. I didn't know that before.
Forgot that you're a human being. Yeah. Well, and I guess for us too on Fault, it was like you were yelling at other people. You were yelling at me. Which I think is like that's the big role
because
that the AD
we've known each other for years too. This was a good experience for me as an AD because I was comfortable with the director already, and so I felt pretty okay knowing I wasn't crossing a huge line when I would walk up to you. Sometimes it'd be like, hey, move your ass, like we gotta go.
Absolutely.
Move your butt.
We got paper plate because we did the paper plate awards for people at the end of the year, and we obviously didn't do ours, but Evie and Parker did ours, the producers. They were like, I remember mine was Big Man on Set, and you did that one.
Yes, I did.
But yours was
hanging on my wall,
and this was something that I drew. This one was I drew your.
It's like my face with no soul in my eyes. I'm doing like a
and then
kind of look.
It was and then it said, Max, what are we doing right now?
Yes,
that was the award.
Because sometimes I would go around, walk around sets checking on people, and then I'd realize like 5 or 10 minutes had gone by and we hadn't gotten a take. I'm like, hey, wait a second, what are we doing right now? And I would just march right up to you and be like, all right, man.
You're like doing the maintenance with everyone else, and you're like, oh, actually, I forgot I gotta yell at you. And so that's like...
You're like the point I always come back to.
Exactly. And I feel like, well, that's like the AD thing. Is like you yell at people, but also you tell the director to like, hey, let's get this moving, Because the director, you get like... I try not to do this. Well, I don't know if I'm successful or not, but I've at least worked with some directors who've got like a very God complex kind of thing about them.
It can go to your head real quick.
Where
it's dangerous being at the top like that.
I will not take any like feedback or frustrated talk from anybody, no matter what. If you tell me something is wrong, I'm gonna be mad at you. Or like if you tell me that I need to do something, especially like if you tell me to do something, like I'll be upset. Like that's the way that they think.
Yeah. You weren't like upset at any points, but
like the AD thing is like always that's the one person on set, even when you've got a God complex director who can come in and be like, hey, get moving.
One of the things that I realized pretty quickly after the first couple of shoots is so last March I directed a short and I had an AD, and every time that she would come up to me and be like, hey, we're behind, I would be like, I wouldn't hear that very well. I was almost a little bit like that, kind of like not God complex necessarily, but I wasn't listening as much as I should have been. And I realized when I stepped into her shoes as an AD, it's not necessarily your job as the director to be on time.
Yeah.
It's my job to keep you on time. So the first couple of shoots I was walking around being like, gosh, why doesn't Max understand that he's running behind right now? It's because that's not really your job. That's mine.
Yeah.
It is my job to keep us on track, and it is my job to badger you constantly, But you're not the one that has to be checking your watch all the time. That's still me.
And that's part of it too. Is like you got to have like a working relationship because like the director is obviously more focused on like getting the vision together, you know, making sure the actors know what they're supposed to be doing and all that stuff, and giving notes and things and just tweaking stuff, making sure everything looks good. Like that's obviously their job is to make sure the movie's good.
Yes,
you know?
Right. But very much more creatively oriented.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, like. Time is a thing that, you know, and even though it's your job to badger me, like I do have to.
Well, yes, I'm not asking you to lose sight of it.
Yeah,
but like
exactly,
I'm not,
and that's kind of the fun dynamic too, where it's like, like when you talk with your AD, you know, and they're telling you like, hey, we got to get moving, you know, obviously you're understanding that that's their job, but also you have to understand that like, okay, now I have to cut some shots, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is something that I really don't like doing.
Yeah, and no director does, you know, kill your darlings kind of thing.
I need to definitely get better at that.
Yeah, especially when you get into the edit and you're like, oh. But you know, it's important to at least when you're behind on time, have the understanding of like, okay, there are at least some things that I can cut, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you've got to work in tandem where, like, yes, you're telling me that I'm behind, but I am deciding how we're going to get back on time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's a collaboration to figure out how we get this thing done in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Just make the day. That's the main thing. And we don't have the luxury, because this was a SAG film, too.
Technically.
Yeah, technically speaking. First ever for this program anyway.
For this program,
first.
No,
no. Last year was a SAG production because they had Dale Dobson on it, and he joined SAG midway through the year, and they did the paperwork at the end.
I see.
So we're the second,
gotcha.
But we're the first to start with SAG at least, which means every shoot we were doing, we had to plan around. We're the first to have to deal with like every single shoot has to be planned around SAG guidelines, where like we can't go over.
And we really decided to adhere to those guidelines. Mm-hmm. Even when Dale wasn't on set too, because
and even when Leslie wasn't on set, because she's the professional actress. She's the one who's like, we've got to keep that kind of. She's the one who, if she's on set, we really have to follow those guidelines.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we'll have to pay overtime and all sorts of other things. And
but we really wanted to adhere to those guidelines in general, just because that's also good practice.
Yeah.
Once you get out into the industry on a real SAG shoot, you're going to want to know kind of what that is like.
But it also comes back to time.
The time, also no one likes working 8 hours without a meal break. That's just
so true. But it was one of those things where it's like that also comes back to time, because if we need to go over, we can't just push it like past 8 hours, because anything past 8 hours we got to pay overtime. That sucks. We can't do that.
We didn't really have a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like anything, like we really had to adhere to that. Like it wasn't like a lot of other student films where it's like, oh, it's fine. It's not like this will cost us anything other than just going to bed a little later, right? Like for this one, it's like, okay, this will affect the budget if we don't.
It was really, we had to make some tight scheduling calls and cut some shots and I remember the diner day when we thought we were moving on, but realized after we had moved on to the next shot that there were some issues that hadn't come to our attention, and we had to like rapid fire completely, like once we had finished our shot, we had to completely rewind time, set up the previous shot like as fast as humanly possible. It was stuff like that where on a normal, like you were saying, on a normal shoot, we would have just gone to bed an hour later, but we had to make the day at a certain time, so we had to really crunch time, but we pulled it off, which that was one of my, I think, favorite days on set in terms of like overcoming an obstacle. Like that was pretty inspiring that we got that done the way we did.
Oh, absolutely. And it was nice, too, because, I mean, not only did it just make it look better, which I'm thankful for now that I've been looking at the cuts from that scene, and, like, now we have more in-focus shots to work with, which is just beneficial to everybody. But also, it's like, it is a practice that you have to get into, because I know you said, like, on any normal set, right, we wouldn't be able to push it, but, like, on any normal student set, but on any set after this, right, like, then it's even more critical.
No.
So it's such an important practice. And, like, it's such a like good skill to figure out, I guess.
And that's why I'm really like happy about this program, because it really, I don't, like I said, I'm not really a classes guy, and a lot of classes up until this point have just been sitting in the lecture hall for 80% of it, being told how it goes, and then you get to do it a little bit under like a lot of constraints where it's like I don't really feel free to actually play with this. And this was definitely like a very loose leash, letting us go and figure out and run into problems and figure them out ourselves without necessarily
Absolutely.
direct guidance from a teacher or stuff like that. So it was very...
Which oftentimes, I mean, it falls on everybody who works on the film, especially the department heads, but especially on us too, right? Because not like for department heads at least, you know, any problem that arises that they haven't dealt with before, like, yeah, they're figuring that out on their own, but only as it pertains to their like job and their area of things, right?
Whereas we were supervising
since we're supervising everything, it's like we at least had to like, and obviously we didn't have to do as much of the like nitty gritty work on each individual problem, but like we at least
I'm
had
very
to
grateful for everyone who did, because
that's rough.
Yeah.
But like at least we had to be present for like some of the solution finding, you know, and we had to like work solutions around other solutions and things. So like, I think it benefits everyone, but it benefited us especially as the people who had to like make a lot of those creative choices and like do the like working departments around each other kind of thing. I want to know what your favorite memory was on the set. Like what did you like most? Like what was your funniest or like most interesting or most heartfelt moment? I guess some fun, pick anything.
Off of the dome, the obvious one to go to is just like the rap. Like the moment in the locker room when we all knew this was like the last shot, and then we got it
everyone
done,
thinks of rap.
Exactly, everyone thinks that, but just a huge sigh of relief got to take. Honestly, the whole day was kind of like bittersweet of like, the thing with this short is that it wrapped at I think a great time, but it was also like we had really hit our groove like a few shoots before that, and it's like if we had to go for 5 more, we would have been good to go because we were just a well-oiled machine. We were working together really, really well, and so. I think a 20-minute short is great. I really don't want it to be longer than that. But also, it's a bit of a shame that, like, right when we were getting into it, it's kind of like, well, all right, we're done.
Exactly.
I
think...
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you one
give me a favorite.
That's not rap, so maybe it'll turn the gears a little bit. But I loved when we were on set. There was a moment in the film, I'm not going to spoil anything, but where Elena, our lead, who's spectacular by the way, especially for a freshman, like early like actress like that, like young actress like that, it's crazy. She had to get this very emotional performance, had to dig really, really deep. There were tears and things like that, and so with any performance like that in a movie, director wants to be very in with the actor, like, hey, listen, we're here for you. A lot of on bigger sets, obviously the actors will have their like coaches and things,
right?
They'll have like
and their own little tent and umbrella, little fan,
and they'll have like people who are like really, exactly. They'll have their own people who are really close to them, who can be with them. But for this set, it's just me, And so I'm going up to Elena. I'm like, this is what you got to dig for. This is how you got to feel. That was the one moment where I let everyone else do everything else, and I didn't touch anything else.
One of my favorite things to see you do as a director was was one of the moments where I was really like, wow, like. He's doing it.
I just had to focus on the actress. Yeah, and that was like, it was so great because I could trust everyone to do everything, without me, having to get involved. I feel like we had hit kind of the hive mind point where I didn't have to convey anything.
You had one
to everybody.
You were with Elena, and everything else was being taken care of without your direct
because we knew
without you saying everyone knew.
We knew already, right?
Everyone knew what was going on.
That was great, but what was funny about that was that obviously with a like newer actress like that, you want to make sure that like those performances don't like affect them, and that's obviously a hard place to reach. And so we called action, and she gave like this insane like,
I know exactly where you're going with this.
She gave this insane like tears rolling down the face,
she dug deep,
full on sobbing, like hyperventilating. And I'm not just gonna call cut on that, right? So I was like easing her back. I was like, all right, we're gonna cut in a second. Like just take a breath in. Let's like move it down. Like trying to work you out of it, because I know that's like a state when you're in that. It's like a state, and so I'm trying to like work you down. And then I call cut and things, and then
very good at that.
And then like all the air went out of the room because everyone was
dead silence. You could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, you could hear a pin drop. It was dead silent, and because everyone had just heard like basically a breakdown from Elena, where like, is this like, how real is this? Like how deep did you dig, and how much of this is real? And so I walked over and I was like, hey, so are you okay? Like, and that was the silence breaker. And then she just popped right up and she was like, yeah, no, I'm fine. And everyone just laughed, broke out. Because I don't think anyone in that room had seen a performance in person that was like that. As deep and like...
Not like directly involved in a project.
As that,
exactly.
I think. Like that was the most intimate performance any of us had ever like seen in person while working on something like that. And so like everyone was just... just didn't know what to think, and it was insane. So that was probably my favorite.
Pause here.
Oh.
Probably Jonathan. Oh, hey.
Oh, hi.
Hello, Benny. We're doing more
Hey,
recordings.
you want to
Hold
pop
on.
in?
Yeah, hop on in.
Oh.
Benny. We're almost Benny.
Benny, come back.
You can come in.
Benny, come back.
Yeah. Listen to our directors on directors close out.
All right.
Camera up.
How
Keep
come
me
you have
up.
me behind the camera?
Squeeze in.
The boo-boo master.
Come on in, Benny.
This is our wonderful DP here, who's making cameo
Well,
appearance.
he's a camera op for this.
Sorry.
Everett's our DP. He's a
You're
DP
right.
for like every other project.
Yes,
we worked on.
Benny has been a DP on many projects that we've worked on, but so I get used to calling you that. But you were cam op this time.
Yes.
Labubu's and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
That was a Lucky Charm on set. We had a couple of Lucky Charms, and one of them was always having a Labubu linked to our camera.
Oh god, that was a really good part too. Was like there were so many, and I mean this is the case with every set. This was the longest set we've worked on, so there were more of them, right? But I feel like that's a fun part. Is there's just like little traditions and quirks that come out that everyone like just finds enjoyable. You know, like the Labubu on every and Benny changed the Labubu on every single.
Yes, we had new Labubus every shoot.
Every shoot was every location at least had a different one, and so
Loved
it was like. I don't know where he's getting all these Labubus, but you know what? It's right there. But I mean, listen, that's it's important to recognize. Did that jog your memory?
Yeah, I had one more I wanted to mention. Then I want to dig into your directing a little bit too. The thing I wanted to mention was one of the unexpected parts about this about ADing that I didn't realize was what we came to coin as being the fun police.
The fun police.
I would be the fun police. We filmed in a lot of public locations, outdoors at a tennis court, and then in a gym that we technically couldn't shut down. So if people wanted to come in and use the gym, we had to let them.
Yeah, but we were shooting at like 1 a.m.
We were shooting at like 1 a.m. But there were times when I would have to basically go and shut someone up that was like out there, like not in a rude way, but just in a like, hey, I'm so sorry, would you mind pausing your music and pausing your tennis match real quick while we go film over there for like 5 seconds? I'll come back in a moment. My favorite was the night when we were in the gym. There was a frat party going on next door.
Yeah.
And they had like a bonfire out front, and they were blasting music so loud that we could hear it 2 floors up, 1 building over, across the street,
through a bunch of thick glass.
Through a bunch of thick glass windows. The music was that loud that it was messing with our sound. And so everybody watched, the entire crew watched through this glass wall of windows as I, keeping them up to date on walkie, leave the building, walk all the way around, down the sidewalk, and just sort of march into the front yard of a frat party and talk to someone to get the music to shut down.
Yeah, we're like,
because I'm like, we're making a movie here.
Well, what was funny too, because
and so I would look over and there's just 10 people faces against the window, like a street away, just looking like,
we did do
is he
this.
doing it? Is he gonna get the shit kicked out of him? What's happening?
Because we had to. I remember. It wasn't the whole time at least, but yeah, we did have some faces pressed against the glass. It's pretty funny, and I remember too because we shot at the tennis courts, and since those are outdoors, even though we kind of had more free range over that space, there was like
still
a playground.
Some screaming children.
There's a playground nearby that we didn't have free range over, and so it was literally fun police, where it was like, go yell at those kids, Cole, stop them from having fun, which I think is like. I mean, it's iconic. It's very funny.
It was part of the job I did not expect.
Yeah,
but we took care of it. I wanted to ask you to wrap us up here. You have talked about wanting to direct for the capstone.
Oh, absolutely.
Since I think probably like a year before we even did this. We talked about it just kind of like, oh, excited for next year, excited for the capstone, and you always mentioned wanting to go for director. What was it like directing? Because this is the largest project you've ever really
largest budget, longest runtime.
Dive into it for me. What was that like?
Yeah, so I mean, doing this project, like you said, I had known a lot about this program. I was really excited for it. This is kind of what I liked about the film program at Michigan State is this opportunity, and I was
We've had a lot of good friends who have done this program before.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, I want to go through it, and I want to pitch for director because I like directing. I have a lot of experience with it. Whatever, I think it'd be good. It was funny because, like I said, I was the only person who actually pitched for it, which is crazy because there's so many people in the class. And I was like, these people
there's a lot of very strong talent.
Yeah, a lot of really great people. I thought I was going to have really intense competition, first of all, because I stayed up I worked for like 5 hours on just the like 10 slide presentation, like refining my script and getting through my delivery well and things like that.
You gave a damn good presentation.
I was like, I have to make this good because I'm going to have so many people who are going for this, and I'm like, if I don't get director, then I don't know what role I'll get. I'll, whatever. I was excited no matter what. Like, obviously, it's just cool to work on a long project with a crew of really cool people that you like, but I was like, I would really like to do that. But actually getting to direct it was, I think, really... it had a lot of challenges that I didn't really foresee, especially coming from the fact that it's like, a class and everything. And just because of that, it's a lot more like democratic than a set that you like set up yourself and fund yourself and run yourself. Because there, everyone is there because they like trust you a little bit. And
it's like, usually the people at the top, the producers and the director, and everyone finds the crew.
Whereas
at this point, we had a crew.
We had a
And
crew.
we had to find a director, so to speak.
Exactly. And in that way, like it was like I kind of had to prove myself a little bit more to everybody
really
who was, who we were working with. Because I just got the role, by default, and also like I was picked.
Default.
Yeah, exactly, by default, yeah. And I was picked for it, and so it's like I have to make sure everyone feels heard, and I have to make sure that even when I'm doing my director thing, and sometimes I'm a little like pushy in a certain direction, which I think is important for a director to do, but also, you gotta be tasteful. Like I think even when I'm doing that, I have to make sure that people feel like they're being heard. And there's camaraderie and things, and people don't think of me as like a dictator who's just coming on and like yelling at folks to do things. Like you got to earn your job even after you have it. I feel like, because if people don't trust you to do the work, it's like,
if people aren't having a good time and don't want to listen to you, then you're not going to get things done.
Then nothing's going to get done, and it's also not going to look the way you want. And
exactly.
I think having everyone feel comfortable with me was a part of the job that I had never done on any other project before, because I make my own projects mostly. That's how most student filmmakers do it, I would say, is they get their own projects and they get their own crew. Once you start your project,
you call in your friends that already like you, kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but for
you get
this
a little comfortable with that. I do the same thing.
Yeah, you get very comfortable with the people that you work with all the time, and for this one, it's like I'm here because I, just presented for this role. I got it, and I want to prove myself to you guys I haven't worked with before that like I do want this to be good, and I am a trustworthy leader in this respect. So that was a challenge that I didn't really see, but I hope I did a good job. I at least tried to be more.
You did a very good job, absolutely.
Yeah, I tried to be more like attentive to what people wanted in that way. Yeah, I mean, I want to wrap us up with one more question for you as well, and then we can get out of here because I know it's late. I wanted to wrap us up with one more question for you, which was, do you see yourself like doing more AD stuff going? Because I know you said you found this as like your first AD experience to be like really sort of enriching.
It's sort of over going to school for film. I have a lot of friends who like Benny found your camera. When I think Benny, I think that's camera. When I think Rachel, I think that's sound. When I think Sophia, I don't know why I forgot Sophia's name. Sorry, Sophia, I don't know what just happened. When I think Sophia, I think gaffing. And I don't mean to put people in corners like that at all, but it's like, to me, it feels like people have found their thing that they like to do.
Yeah.
That like their strength on set. And I always found that my strength was a little bit in writing and just kind of being a like Swiss Army guy.
Yeah.
Like filling in the cracks, but I never found like a department that I was like, that's my department every time. And this is what finally clicked for me. Which is, good. My last year at school, it was good to finally figure that one out. Because I'm not really a camera guy. I hate editing, despise it, and I'm not really a light guy. So like this really clicked for me. So I want to try to pursue it. I want to try to get my go out into reality, get my on-set days, and try to work my way into the actual AD department on some projects and pursue that professionally. Still probably direct and try that route too, but I think honestly, I'm gonna charge pretty headlong into AD work in the future.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
And what about you?
We'll figure it out. God knows I'm not jumping right into director, but I'm probably gonna do first AC stuff. That's usually what I do when I'm not running a set or a camera department or anything. Is that I'm pulling focus, and I like that job a lot. I think
there you go.
Great. So that's something I'm gonna start with, but. Yeah, this is a really fun film to work on. God, everyone did such
Absolutely.
a great job. Student filmmaking,
Incredibly
is-
talented crew and incredibly talented cast.
Yeah, dude, student filmmaking is so great.
Love it.
So go see Fault when it comes out. Very
Only in theaters.
only in theater for one night, and then screenings limited throughout.
We're figuring that one out.
various things.
But we're figuring
We'll
it out.
figure things out. Yeah,
But you'll see
we
it.
don't know.
You'll see it.
Yes. So do.
I love you.
Perfect.